Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to hang out with me a little bit and watch the video. Really very grateful for that. And guys, today, like the video said, it's not how many fish you catch, it's how you play the game. This is such a true statement that you guys have all heard, that it's not how, if you're not if you win or lose, it's how you play the game. It's the same in fishing, and I want to delve into that in today's video and really help everybody, maybe get a little better understanding about what fishing really is on its purest form, because once you do get a grasp of that, fishing becomes so much more rewarding as a lifelong activity. So I got some pretty strong opinions on that I want to talk about today, and be curious to get your guys' feedback as well. Also, guys, before we get started, I just wanted to extend a big thank you from everybody here at the Blaukat household for all you guys that have been supporting the channel, all you guys that have been using my links that I put in the description of the video, becoming channel members, subscribing to Intuitive Angling, subscribing to my other channels. Big thank you, because you guys are the reason that this channel's on YouTube. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Okay, guys, we've all heard that before. It's like, it's not if you win or lose, it's how you play the game. That is one of the wisest statements I've ever heard in my life, and it applies directly to catching bass, about your attitudes and about how you go about catching bass and how you go about fishing in general. Let me tell you one little story here. A lot of you guys out there that have been around for a while, you remember Harry and Charlie in Bassmaster Magazine. This was back when Bassmaster, when Bassmaster Magazine used to be really great. There was a cartoon that was drawn by Don Worth and Cliff Shelby called Harry and Charlie. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Harry and Charlie were two fictional bass anglers, and they were good old boys. I think they were from Alabama or Louisiana somewhere. And they were hardcore bass anglers, and they were in this bass club called the Swamp Gas Corners Bass Club or something, and they fished this place called Belly Button Bayou all the time. And their tackle was like, they had a 12-foot flat bottom with a 4-horse motor on it they called Old Weezer, and they fished with nothing except a stiff bait casting rod with, I think they said it was 50-pound test mono or something on that, and a 9-inch man scuppernong jelly worm. That's all they fished with. And throughout the course of the length of the lifetime of this cartoon, they were always after this bass that they called Old Ironjaw. And Old Ironjaw was supposedly a 20-pound bass that lived in Belly Button Bayou. And throughout the course, about every 4 or 5 episodes, they'd hook into Old Ironjaw, and he'd always break their line or break their rod, or he'd get off, this and that. And they were after Old Ironjaw all the time. It was like this mythical bass that lived in the swamp. And they would they'd lay it out like Old Ironjaw was like this, very formidable adversary they were after. And they didn't have a trolling motor. They had a sculling paddle on their flat bottom. So they would talk about, they saw like a stump up in front of them, and they'd scull up with the paddle real quietly and cast their 9-inch jelly worm over there. And once in a while, Old Ironjaw would hit it and break them off or something. But anyway, at one point, eventually, they caught Old Ironjaw. They got him in the boat. He weighed 20 pounds or something like that. And they were like, they'd been after him forever, and you assume they wanted to keep him. But, Old Ironjaw was released back into the water. Well, one of them wanted to keep it, one of them didn't want to keep it. But the point of the video, it's not the fact that they caught Old Ironjaw, but it was how they played the game to get it, from a pure, honorable, viewpoint as far as fishing goes. Now, a lot of people that, some of the smartest anglers that I have ever seen, and this has been, true historically over the past 100 years, every great angler, I don't care if it's from Teddy Roosevelt to Dwight Eisenhower to, whoever, people that have fished for a long time, the common thread that binds together the most intelligent fishermen on this planet was the fact that they have this philosophy. It's not how many fish you catch, it's how you play the game. It's how you pursue it. And you pursue that, first of all, by you have to honor and you have to respect the fish, the bass that you're catching. And I've always said it before, guys, I have no respect for dudes out there that set the hook and swing this 4-pounder over the side and jack it in the boat and flopping all over the boat, and they're just fist pumping like that, hooping and hollering while this fish is, flopping all over the floor. Then they get it up there and they hold it up and they take their hand and they smack the hook out of it. like that. That's just, to me, that is like the ultimate in disrespect, because when you're talking about it's how you play the game, that is all part of it, about how what your attitude is towards that fish. Now, whether you want to, acknowledge it or not, on the basic, the most pure level, when you take away all of the belief systems and dogma of mankind, bass have just as much right to be on this planet as we do. We don't have any more right to be on this planet than a bass does. And the key to all of that, and the key to living in balance and harmony on this planet, is you have to respect the other creatures that we share this planet with. And from the standpoint of bass fishing, that's what you have to do. And I understand that the point of fishing in general, it seems a little disrespectful because you're putting a hook through the fish's mouth, but there are things that you can do to honor that fish beforehand. You can give thanks to that fish. Thank you for that experience, fish, before you release it. If you decide to keep that fish to eat it, thank those fish, for that sacrifice that you're gonna, that their meat is going to sustain your life. It's an act of gratitude. The Native Americans have known about this forever. And that particular act of how you play the game is so critical. And that is one of the reasons, guys, I'm so adamant against technology and fishing. Because here's the thing about it. I have much more respect and admiration and appreciation for somebody like Harry and Charlie that go out there and throw that scuppernong jelly worm next to that stump after they've quietly sculled up next to it and catch a 5 or 6 pound bass, than some dude down there in Texas that goes down to, all the big bass lakes in Texas and spotlights them with their cheater box and catches a 50 pound limit of largemouth spotlighting for bass. I don't got any respect for that. That doesn't impress me at all. If I see those stories all the time about those guys going down there in Texas and they say such and such, gets a 55 pound limit, it's all spotlighting for bass. That doesn't impress me. It's disrespectful, and it's not how you play the game. How you play the game is how you approach that particular sport and the attitude that you have with that. That's why when you approach bass fishing from a more simplistic, aesthetic point of view, then you become closer to playing the game right. And when you play the game right, you honor the fish and you honor, the whole ability for you to actually go out and participate in the sport of fishing. I mean, in my opinion, so many people just don't deserve, the chance to fish, being disrespectful and dishonorable to everything around them. And I know a lot of that is how they were brought up, because if you were not brought up to, be respectful for the bass and understand that whole philosophy about it's how you play the game, it's not about your results in it. And from the time that you were little, you take that into adulthood. But if you have not been taught that, or if you've been taught that it's okay to swing a fish over and let it flop in the boat and beat all its scales off, and then pop its hook out with your palm of your hand and hoop and holler and, look at a bass as a thing, then your worldview is entirely messed up on fishing. Now, I'll give you guys another good example of this, about how a lot of people, when it comes to disrespecting the fish that they do, I have seen, and I've witnessed a lot in my own tournament career about watching people do this. I've seen a lot of times where guys are catching a lot of fish, and they're catching a lot of small fish. Maybe it's in a tournament situation. Eventually, I've seen a lot of these guys get so irritated at the very fact that they're catching so many smaller fish that they just toss them back in like they were a rock. It's like, literally, it's a pain in their butt to have to unhook this fish and throw it back. And they miss the whole point of it. They miss the point about what the game is. Another good example about that is Old Man in the Sea. If you guys ever seen that by Ernest Hemingway, where this old fisherman goes out there and he hooks this giant marlin on a hand line. And throughout the whole movie, you can tell how much respect he has for this fish, the power and the age and the wisdom of this fish to know how to move like it does. That is what fishing is about. And when you start to rely on technology and you start to ignore the fact that a fish has just as much right to be on this planet as we do, then that is the whole point of the thing, that you are not playing the game right. It's how you play that game. It's how you interact with the fish. It's how your attitudes are towards a sport. It's how your approach goes. That's why I've never had a live scope on my boat, and you'll never see one. I had some guy comment, it's like, "Hey, Randy, I saw Randy had a live scope on his boat," even though if he wants to admit or not, I've never had a live scope on my boat, and I never will have a live scope on my boat. So from that standpoint, I think that it would be a lot better if we would all get closer to Harry and Charlie, that the way they fished, instead of, these live scoping guys down in Texas that catch, 50-pound limits by spotlighting for bass. So just a few thoughts random there, guys. Let me know what y'all think about that, and we'll check in later. See you.